introduction, and I'm not sure I invented creative nonfiction, but I'm going to read today what I think would also be defined as that. I'm going to read from a book that's not written yet, so you will be among the first to have heard these words. I've read this little part in a different version once. It's a little risky reading new work because it's not finished, so it may be there may be a few ragged parts, but I think it's fun for the writer because you get to put the words out there and see how they sound to me and see maybe how they sound to you. I'm not going to tell you much about this. I'm just going to start because this would be the beginning. On February the 4th, 1992, a little less than 2 months after the murders, 12 billboards went up in Austin. Across the top of each were rectangular black and white photographs of the 4 dead girls, lined up like pictures in a yearbook. On the far left, beautiful 17-year-old Eliza Thomas, head fetchingly tilted, big smile. Next to her, young Amy Ayres, only 13, chin in her cupped palm, looking older than her years. Next to Amy, the Harbison sisters, Sarah, 15, with her skeptical, oh yeah, expression, and Jennifer, tiny, nonstop, electric Jennifer, who was 17. The billboards were placed all over town along I-35, 183, North Lamar, East 7th Street, Mopac, and South Congress at Ben White, so that anybody driving from home to work, school, the gym, H-E-B, or shopping malls was bound at some point to see at least one of them, not just once, but every day, again and again. Beneath the pictures of the girls was a slash of bright red. Inside the red, a question in white letters: who killed these girls? The billboard space had been donated by a local sign company for 3 months. The $25,000 reward offered for information leading to the conviction of the perpetrators offered by Bryce and Company, owner of the yogurt shop franchise. We want these pictures to torment the people who did this, the mother of the Harbison sisters told the press. We hope it will drive them crazy because those beautiful eyes will be watching them every day. To mark the appearance of the billboards, many Austinites tied white ribbons on their car antennas that day. Some, including the mayor, wore lapel buttons saying, "We will not forget," as if forgetting was possible, as if remembering wasn't the curse we all live with, despite whatever efforts we make to let it go. When I talk to people who lived in Austin at the time, their expression changes. "We lost our innocence that night" is the most common response I hear. When I question how a city can think of itself as innocent and go on to wonder out loud about the murders on the east side of town that same year, where crack was a steady presence and fatal gunshots a weekly occurrence, people shake their heads as if correcting a child. Everything was different after that. Even Ronnie Earl, the Travis County DA at the time, a man familiar with the dark extremes to which behavior can go, a man whose job it was to seek out, indict, and see to the prosecution of criminals of the most heinous persuasion, confessed his bewilderment at what was to become known all over the country as the yogurt shop murders. "The world," he said, "is turning upside down on us here. This is not the way we thought we'd be living, with hostilities walking among us." As if there was a we and an us. As if hostilities among us was new. I live in Austin now, but in 1991, when the murders occurred, I was living in Los Angeles with a British actor I'd met 6 months before. In 1992, when the billboards went up, I was teaching at the University of Montana in Missoula. This book isn't about me, but it is about time, memory, and imagination. How we imagine memories of things we perhaps did not do. How imagination feeds memory. How if we try to imagine the worst thing that could possibly happen, we may find we didn't go far enough. It is about grief that won't end and the effect an event can have on a city, on a family, on an entire police department, on hapless strangers walking hapless streets thinking nobody should die so young or in such a gruesome, unthinkable manner. It's about us, and as will naturally follow, how can it not, them? Going on 20 years after the day the billboards went up, the prison cots reserved for those who committed these terrible murders remain empty, unoccupied. No one serves time. Only the girls and the killers know what happened that night. The charges against the 4 men who 9 years after the murders were originally arrested have been dismissed. The 2 who were tried and found guilty, who then had that conviction overturned, have moved several states away. In 2010, one of the original 4 was shot and killed by a policeman issuing a routine traffic ticket. And so, whoever the ones we want to despise, blame, and revile are among the missing. We don't know who they are. Will the yogurt shop murders ever be out of our lives? I asked my son some 7 or 8 years ago when I'd come home to Austin for a year and read a story in the Austin American-Statesman, some new development about the case, somebody arrested or set free, the results of a new DNA test. His answer came fast. No, he said, they're with us forever. He may be right. Later that same year, on the first anniversary of the killings, a new set of billboards went up. This time, the reward had been quintupled by Austin businesses. The Harbison sisters' mother said she was hoping the 6-figure offer would convince someone to tell the world the truth. And I'm going to read a little bit of the first section called The Girls. December 6, 1991 fell on a Friday. For Austin public school kids, the next to last week of the fall semester. The day dawned gray and sour, no sign of a breeze. By the time the school day ended, nothing had changed. The first 4 days of December had brought a wintry chill down into the 30s at night, but by Thursday the 5th, the air had turned humid again, warm and sulky, with the kind of unnatural stillness that makes people feel like something's about to happen. New weather, maybe storms. 1991 was an El Nino year, after all. On December 6th, the moon was new. The night sky would be black, the darkness further compounded by fog, which by 9 p.m. would have settled in, bringing with it a spitting drizzle. More than likely, the 4 girls paid little attention. Friday offered better things to think about than meteorology. One by one, they arrived home. By 4:30, when Barbara Ayers Sirachi came in from work at Team Bank, her younger daughter, Sarah Harbison, was already there, sitting on the living room couch peeling an orange. Sarah was in a good mood. Sirachi testified in both trials. She had a new boyfriend, and because it was Friday and she didn't have basketball practice, she told her mother, going out. Barbara's feisty. Oh yeah, is how she says she responded to that. Sarah's sister Jennifer, 17, had driven her home from school, but Jennifer wasn't there. She'd made a quick turnaround and gone to spend some time with her boyfriend, Sammy Buchanan, who hadn't been at school that day. She would return at 7 in time to get dressed for her job working at the I Can't Believe It's yogurt shop, then make a couple of necessary stops on her way to work. Her shift began at 8. Barbara Sirachi had been divorced from the girl's father since 1979 when Jennifer was 5 and Sarah 3, a positive and forthright woman who takes full responsibility for the ups and downs of her life. Barbara had driven with the girls in her old Toyota hatchback from New Boston in East Texas, almost to the Arkansas line, to Austin to start a new life. There she met Frank Skip Sirachi, whom she married in 1980. She and her small daughters took lessons at St. Louis Catholic Church and became members. Only 86 pounds, 5 feet tall, a relay runner on the linear varsity track team, Jennifer Harbison was a dynamo of energy and intent, unfazed by demands and expectations, a mosquito-sized girl, always on the go. She and Sammy Buchanan were serious about their relationship. A talented baseball player, Sam was hoping to win a scholarship to play at college, a college Jennifer could go to after they married. Before she took the job at the yogurt shop, Jennifer had worked at an Albertsons sacking groceries. She wore a Timex watch with a sturdy, no-nonsense black band, a necessity for a girl on a tight schedule. After the fire was set that night, Jennifer's watch would stop, marking the time of the most intense heat burst at 11:48. Both girls went to Lanier High School, where Jennifer was a senior and Sarah a freshman. Jennifer drove a dark blue S10 Chevy pickup, a small, peppy truck revered among the country western set, both then and now, which she'd taken to school that day. Before dropping Sarah off, she'd also given Sarah's new boyfriend a ride home. Later that night, when she was ordered to strip, Sarah would slide her boyfriend's senior ring from her finger and place it on her pile of clothes, along with her wallet and her Mickey Mouse watch. From the witness stand, Mike McCallum would identify the ring, gold with a green stone, a tractor on one side of the stone, his initials on the other. All four girls and their boyfriends lived in a kind of urban cowboy-cowgirl life. They belonged to the FFA, wore the blue corduroy jacket, raised animals, loved country music, didn't, as far as we know, do drugs, drank beer maybe, rooted for the Aggies, were in the majority race, which in Austin was then and is now, of course, white. Two highways run crookedly north and south through Austin. Interstate 35, which runs from Laredo, Texas to Duluth, Minnesota, and State Highway 1, called Mopac by locals for the railroad it tracks, the Missouri Pacific. These highways run through central Texas along the Balcones Escarpment, a fault zone which separates the coastal plains from the Edwards Plateau. East of Mopac, the land is fairly flat, rolling from there down to Houston, where the topsoil runs deep and ancient live oaks guard the sidewalks. West of Highway 1, the countryside changes astonishingly fast. The land suddenly cratered with fault lines and rocky jags, the trees small and scrubby, short limbs gnarled like arthritic fingers. Lanier High and the yogurt shop were situated on the east side of Mopac between Shoal Creek, which runs through downtown and sometimes overruns its banks, and Burnett Road. 3804 Tamarack Trail, however, where Sarah and Jennifer lived with their mother and stepfather, sits west of Highway 1, almost 7 miles from the school. Between the end of that school day and about 7:30 that evening, Jennifer would make 2 round trips up and down either Mopac or North Lamar. Traffic didn't hold people up in Austin the way it does now, Austin having about doubled in size in the past 20 years. But on a Friday between 4 and 7, she'd have had the occasional snarl to deal with. Sarah and Jennifer's father and Barbara Sirachi's high school sweetheart, Mike Harbison, had arranged to buy the Chevy S10. Jennifer had taken a job at the, I can't believe it's, yogurt shop the previous summer in order to help her dad make payments on the loan. When she was hired on, her friend Eliza Thomas had been working there for 6 months. They both worked weekends. Eliza sometimes worked the occasional weeknight, which she'd done the night before, on Thursday, December 5th. On December 6th, 1991, Eliza would begin her shift at 7, Jennifer an hour later, when on a weekend night business picked up. They would run the store until 11 o'clock at the closing, when they were responsible for depositing proceeds and for cleaning and locking up, using a strict schedule set down by the Bryce Company. All the girls who worked at this particular ICBY shop were about 17. The manager of the store, Reese Price, was 24. She had begun working for ICBY 7 years before, when she too was 17. Girls finished a shift, turned the business over to other girls. Girls were in charge. Nobody thought this strange. The yogurt shop was located in a safe part of town, and anyway, who would think to make trouble in a frozen yogurt shop? When I asked retired APD homicide detective John Jones about the Innocence issue, he said it wasn't about innocence. It was about murder comes to West Austin. When Sarah announced that she was going out, Barbara Srirachi knew what that meant. She wanted to go to Northcross Mall, not especially to buy anything or even shop, just to go. Weekend nights in the middle 80s and early 90s, kids from all over Austin either drove or were dropped off at Northcross to window shop, eat pizza, smoke cigarettes, drink soft drinks, maybe go to a movie, walk around, even ice skate, the only rink within 200 miles of Austin. Mall crawling was a way of life for suburban kids all over the country at that time. Northcross, at the corner of Burnett Road and West Anderson Lane, had opened with huge fanfare in 1975 when Austin was beginning to prosper. By the mid-'80s, it had become a major scene for Austin teenagers. Word was LSD was big among the mall moles, especially the ones who came to the Friday and Saturday night midnight movies, Heavy Metal, The Wall, and beginning in 1983, the Rocky Horror Show. The goth element of Austin, pierced and tattooed people in black wearing studded dog collars, their lips inked black, blue mohawk haircuts, arrived in time to see RHS and act out the parts. Pebs, as they were known, people in black, were among the first suspects to be hauled into the police station for questioning about the girls' murders. Sarah also asked her mother for permission to invite her best friend, Amy Ayers, to come with her to Northcross and afterwards have a sleepover. Barbara Srirachi agreed and suggested that Jennifer pick up Amy and drive the two girls to the mall on her way to work and bring them home after she and Eliza closed the shop, or the younger girls could help Jennifer and Eliza close up. The yogurt shop was located maybe 800 yards from Northcross, a straight shot from the mall along a lighted street with sidewalks. Safe, very safe. The sun set at 5:30. By the time Jennifer arrived back home after visiting Sammy, the sky was dark. The night began. The setup was complete. 4 girls zooming to the meeting place where their lives would end. Is that about right? Okay, then I'll keep going. Okay. In 1991, the area of Austin where the 4 girls lived, went to school, and worked was known as Northwest Austin. Now, as the city has doubled in population and size, new growth has moved the desirable residential and commercial areas farther north and farther west, stealing not only that area's businesses, but its appeal. Northcross Mall has been bought and sold several times. With each turnover, a cheerful announcement appears in the Statesman and the Austin Business Journal about a makeover. Northcross is all but dead now, with no anchor store, no movie theater. There's a mattress shop, a guitar shop, a business center, a slew of beauty salons, and the ice rink. Everything else is gone. Northcross has become a beige-hauled creep show, so empty your footsteps echo when you walk them. Amy Ayers, an 8th grader, attended Burnett Middle School, but like the other 3 girls, she was an active member of the Lanier High chapter of the Future Farmers of America. Eliza Thomas had transferred to Lanier from nearby McCallum High the year before, specifically to join the FFA so that she could participate in ag projects and raise a pig she named Lucille. McCallum was a different kind of school, focusing on arts and special education. There was no FFA chapter at McCallum. Lanier was Jock and Country Western School. At an off-campus site featuring pens, barns, and a greenhouse, FFA members could raise livestock. They would enter into competition at the annual Austin Livestock and Rodeo. Jennifer and Sarah were raising lambs. Eliza and Amy, pigs. Jennifer had recently returned from an FFA convention in Kansas City, where she saw snow and ice for the first time. The girls fed and tended their animals twice a day. After Eliza sold Lucille, she took on a male pig, Stony. In 2010, in a leash-free park on Redbud Isle, I ran into a guy with a dog whose mother ran a pet grooming shop 2 doors down from the yogurt shop. Oh yeah, he said, they were in business when the murders came down. Their shop had been filled with smoke from the fires. When a window broke, a number of cats boarding there had disappeared. Commenting on the 4 girls, he said, they were rednecks, you know. Their friends put FFA jackets on the caskets. I was there. I saw it. He went to McCallum, the other high school, and was, he said, into acid in those years. Big time into acid, not pigs. Redneck doesn't fit, but the McCallum guy had his own ideas. One woman who worked in a shop adjacent to the yogurt shop called Jennifer and Eliza squeaky clean. Another described them as innocent little girls. All four made good grades, had dreams of college, and were true to the popular image of a perfectly imagined middle-class Texas white girl with a love of animals, family, George Strait, Garth Brooks, and Western gear. To decorate her bedroom wall, Jennifer Harbison had made a collage of pictures of barrel racers. She'd captioned the collage, the boots, the jeans, the dream. I think I'll just read the end of this section to give you a clue. There's a little patch in here which I'm not going to read about. When a horrible event like this rocks a city, and what kind of murder becomes such an event that people can't get over it, and when people say, this doesn't happen here. I cite Boulder and Santa Cruz, towns that have thought of themselves as, if not innocent, then not the kind of places that have city crime, random crime, out of the night, not a man shooting his wife or a wife shooting her husband, or even Charles Whitman on the Texas Tower, the Tower of the University of Texas, with a deer rifle. A man with a deer rifle shooting people at random is horrible enough, but he's sort of a familiar nutcase guy. This was like something that people would think, well, that's New York, that's LA, that's other cities, it's not Austin. The murder of the four girls was different. The killers came, it seemed, from out of the moonless fog, and once they'd done their work, they vanished, leaving four girls, not in the parking lot of a bar or one of the many music halls on 6th Street, but of all places, a frozen yogurt shop, a fat-free frozen yogurt sold in a little store where Governor Ann Richards used to come and order a small cup. Four of them shot to death, stacked like wood, and set on fire. Street crime, it seemed, anonymous, random, quick and senseless, had arrived in Austin. It was the kind of thing that people thought happened other places. As Barbara Sirachi told People magazine in 1992, we did all the middle-class American things that you do to protect your family and make it wholesome and right. If this can happen to us, it can happen to anyone. John Jones, the homicide detective who would be assigned to lead the yogurt shop investigation, was called by the Austin Fire Department at a little before midnight, when sloshing through the water poured by the hundreds of gallons on the scene, a firefighter noticed a foot. Reeling, stepping back into the smoke and darkness, he tripped over another body. John Jones, who has 4 daughters of his own, called the sight of the 4 girls pure carnage. He looked in the back doors of the shop and, seeing the smoldering bodies, said all he could think was, "Oh my God." Meteorologists who had predicted a wimpy El Nino year in 1991-92 were soon proved mistaken. The rains began only days after the 4 girls were murdered. By Christmas, Shoal Creek and other rivers and creeks in the area of the Balcones Escarpment had flooded. By the end of December, 14.12 inches of rain had fallen during the month, breaking a previous record of 5.91 inches. The rain came without let-up. Creeks and rivers crested and flooded during the spring. The rains would not stop until May. By then, many confessions had been heard by APD homicide detectives who dismissed them all as fakes. why this story? I couldn't help it. I think when I've always been interested in extreme behavior and events. It's something I've invested a lot of time in thinking and writing about. And in this case, I couldn't get it out of my mind and couldn't get it out of my mind. And because I'd read the book that Tom mentioned to you, Crossed Over, which was about another set of horrible murders with crossed over about what was called. These murders always have a name. This was called the Pickaxe Murders in Houston. I know. I think when she just flinched thinking about it.
It would haunt me.
I know. Well, it does haunt me. And, you know, when I read this.
Kind of?
Is it what?
Aversion?
No. No. It's just I feel like I'm the one to write about it. Somebody needs to. And it is, it's not just a graphic murder story. You know, it's a story about a city. It's a story about a grief. And it's also a story about potential false confessions that the two guys who were arrested made, which is a fascinating thing to think about. Okay?
With the empathy and imagination and realism that is your story, how do you find out where to begin? You'll notice in the articles and the excerpt and also the starting with the
Right. How do I find a place to begin? That's been really tough, and that's what these readings have helped me do, because I thought I really need to. I've got more information. One of the interesting things about this, and this is covered a little bit in here that I didn't read, is people have been so willing to give me material information. I have two guys were questioned, one for 14 hours and one for 6. I have full DVDs of that with transcripts. The judge gave me notes. The lawyers, I mean, this policeman has become an amazing confidant about the murders and about Austin and the APD. And I think it's sort of the time came, you know, to write, for somebody to write this. And I kept thinking about those billboards and the whole issue of who killed those girls as a question. One thing I don't know, which I'm going to ask, is who designed the billboard? You know, it's perfect, actually. You know, you couldn't have done a better job than to have people drive along and that question, you know, flat in your face. So I think there's a wonderful essay in an issue of Fiction International by Clark Blaze called To Begin, To Begin. It's about writing short stories, but it's about the difficulty of finding the beginning. And I did with this. I started all over the place. This is where I think I'll start now. Anybody else? Uh-huh.
I appreciate you bringing up the question of how can I see innocence,
Mm-hmm.
and that you question the kids who represent it and how they represent it
Mhm.
everywhere. And I was actually looking through Facebook when they caught them guys.
Mm-hmm.
There were so many names on
Right.
the east side of town,
Right.
and it was so overwhelming to me to
Mhm.
see them. All, I mean, it sounds horrible, but I'm wondering if there are other jobs that are going to address that.
Oh, absolutely.
Kids, when there were other kids who
I can't tell you how many times people have said that to me. And
I mean,
you know, these are smart people. And I say, look, this was beyond horrible. But there were 51 murders in Austin that year. It was a record. Yeah, and on the east side of it, you know, on 11th Street was particularly bad. But it doesn't faze them. You know, they just have this stonewall about, you don't get it. We lost our innocence that night. And I understand what they're saying. I just think, you know, and on the 29th, like 3 weeks later, Colleen Reed was snatched from the car wash by Kenneth McDuff. That ended the year. Same year. And then the rains came. So it all, I mean, I don't think the rains caused anybody to murder somebody, but it is interesting that there was all this change in the cities on a kind of fault line that's an edge. Mm-hmm. So, anything else? Mm-hmm. Um, I feel like that Lyle Lovett song, "You May Not Be from Texas, Texas Wants You Anyway," because Texas has always embraced me as a writer. My native state, Tennessee, never has. I've never been invited to read at the University of Memphis even. And Mississippi's such a big part of my life as well, and they certainly embraced me. But that was my growing up years. So I've always been moved by that, and I felt like when I came to Texas, I was living in New York, and where I'm from, the Delta of Mississippi, it's a very old family kind of place, and I didn't have that kind of family, and so going to Houston felt like freedom to me. It felt like you could do anything, especially in those years, because Houston was wide open. So I appreciate Texas a lot for what it's given me. And I was just at a party in Baltimore a week or so ago, and this sort of uptight guy from, where did he grow up? The East someplace, but I met him in Montana actually. He said, "But Beverly, Texas, I know Austin's great, but Texas, what do you think of that?" And I paused a minute. This is so old. I said, "Michael, first of all, it's a big state. And second of all, that is so old-fashioned. You should get over it. I mean, find something else to talk about." And, I'm not there to be the Chamber of Commerce or anything, but come on, So, anything else? Well, thank you all for coming. And,